let's continue our discussion about economic growth. Here, when we say other determinants, we mean the determinants other than the four traditional factors of production. Okay, so previously we already said that land, labor, capital, and technology, these could drive economic growth. Now we're looking at something else. Okay, specifically here, as we already demonstrated in the previous video, we're looking at the geographical location, why that matters. Okay, you need to remember here, all of our discussion, we are actually traveling all the way back before Industrial Revolution. In other words, we're not trying to look at the world in 19th or 20th century to figure out the income difference across countries today. Because when you look at these countries, especially the rich countries on this map, US, Canada, Australia, UK, they already became rich in 19th or 20th century, or at least richer than the rest of the world. Okay. In other words, if you just go back a little bit in history, looking at the previous century, you won't be able to find the fundamental reasons for today's income difference across countries. Okay, what you will find is just the consequence or the halfway consequence of long-term economic development. So here, let's go all the way back. Let's say probably 500 or 500 years back. Okay, before the Industrial Revolution, when the most part of the globe was very poor. Okay? People struggle to have enough food. All right, we're going to start with a hypothetical micro-level example. And remember, we said before that what's true for individuals must be true for economies. Okay, so for economy, when we talk about economic development in the long run, it might be hard for us to vision it. Okay, so that's why here we rely upon some individual hypothetical examples. Now, the first one I want to share with you is two fishermen's stories. One fisherman, suppose, live in Northern Europe, let's say Norway, okay, and the other fishermen live in West Africa. Remember, both are probably 14th and 15th century, okay, and there was one day when both fishermen found they were extremely lucky. They caught more than a dozen fish, okay? Definitely more than what they could eat. So what are they going to do with the fish they could not eat that day? Again, here I would suggest you to pause the video and think about it. Okay? They caught more than what they could eat. What are they going to do with the remaining ones? Okay. All right. Your first response, I would guess, is to get them sold, right? But remember, your presumption is there was a market nearby, right? If there's no market nearby, probably they both live in a very remote area, then getting them sold won't be an option. Okay. The second option in front of them could be, let's get them stored, saved, right? So that they don't have to go out and catch fish next day, right? Now, if both fishermen decided to save the fish, which one would have an easier time saving the fish? In other words, when we look at these two fishermen, who can do a better job saving the fish and why? Again, here you can pause the video and think about it. Okay? The reason here is about the climate or the temperature. Because in West Africa, the temperature was much higher than that in Northern Europe. So the West African fishermen would have an extremely difficult time storing his fish. It might be okay for 2 or 3 days, but it will go back very quickly, right? For the Northern European fisherman, he might be able to store the fish for 2 or 3 weeks, or even 2 or 3 months if we're talking about the winter season. Okay? Now, here, let's think about what are they going to do when they have the fish they saved from previous days. Okay? So if they, let's see, one morning when they wake up, they find that, they still have the fish they caught yesterday or several days ago. So they don't have to go out fishing today. What are they going to do? Are they just going to lay on the beach and enjoy the sunshine? Or they're trying to do something and make themselves more productive? For example, would they start making a larger fishing net? Could they make a bigger boat or a better fishing pole? If they take advantage of these days when they don't have to go out and fishing and make a lot of tools, equipment, they could be very productive in the long term, right? Now, come back here. We already said that the Northern European fisherman will find it's relatively easier for him to save the fish. In other words, he will get relatively more time making tools, equipment, right? So that could be one possible explanation why, the Europe experienced the economic prosperity before the other parts of the world, especially the tropical part. Okay? Because for them, they can save, and their saving lasts longer, so they can start making tools. Okay? And they become more productive in the long run. So this is one possible explanation. Again, here you would find that we're not just talking about that inverted bell-shaped curve we discussed in the previous video. We're not just trying to make sense of that. We also incorporate of the conclusion we discussed before about the relationship between saving and income. Right? So here, what we are saying is because of the geographic location, some parts of the world people find it's relatively easier for them to save. Okay? Or they can say their saving won't go bad for several days, several weeks. Okay, that buys them some time to make tools, equipment. Okay, in other words, the logical reasoning goes from geographical location to saving and investment, and eventually to economic prosperity. All right, so this is one possible explanation. In the next video, we're gonna come up with another possible explanation.